The biggest aspect of disbelief you have to suspend is the idea that Gal Gadot, as the wicked witch here, as the evil stepmother, is somehow less good looking than Rachel Zegler.
That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Lots of people to thank for this video.
We absolutely wrote a Snow White.
Is not going to be saved by the prince.
Is that inappropriate?
I don't know if that mirror was broken, but that has to be one hell of an acting job by Gal Gadot. She looks into the mirror and she says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" And then they show her a picture of Rachel Zegler, and somehow she has to not burst out laughing. We're not all blind. We can still see. Gal Gadot is a beautiful person. And Rachel Zegler is a fairly good-looking person.
What the f?
Talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
Last time I checked, I'm old as hell.
According to reports, Gal and Rachel got along during filming. It's afterwards that things took a turn.
So I've got my Baymax blanket, which I use when I have anxiety.
The Snow White disaster was supposed to end with the final box office report. But now, insiders claim it's entering an even more dangerous phase, one that has nothing to do with movie reviews and everything to do with lawyers.
It is a colossal disaster.
According to multiple speculative sources, Gal Gadot has officially lawyered up, and her legal team is allegedly preparing for battle after Rachel Zegler's behind-the-scenes behavior may have crossed a serious line.
My name is Gal, and I'm Jewish.
What started as a whisper war between co-stars has allegedly escalated into a full-scale legal Cold War, and the stakes might be higher than anyone at Disney ever imagined. The rumors began quietly, a few canceled interviews here, a sudden disappearance from press tours there. Then, according to insiders, the whispers turned into full-on alerts.
But the lead actresses, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, are making it very, very difficult for me to believe that there is anything redeeming about this project whatsoever.
Rachel Zegler was allegedly preparing to go public, not just about her experience filming Snow White, but about Gal Gadot specifically. The claims? That Gal was difficult on set, that she contributed to the toxic working environment, that she was partly to blame for the film's epic collapse. But Gal didn't stay silent. She didn't post cryptic subtweets. She didn't go to war on social media. She sent a message the Hollywood way, through her lawyers.
Now looking like it is seriously on life support.
Sources close to the situation say Gal's legal team allegedly issued not one, but 3 separate warnings to Rachel's camp, reportedly making it clear that any defamatory public statements would be met with swift legal consequences. And it worked. Just days later, Rachel suddenly pulled out of several planned appearances, including a highly anticipated spot on The Drew Barrymore Show, a buzzy podcast taping, and even a major sit-down with a media outlet rumored to be preparing a full feature titled Rachel's Side of the Story. All of it canceled. Insiders claim the legal team's strategy was simple: shut it down before it starts. And Rachel, once defiant and unfiltered in the media, reportedly backed off. Not because she changed her mind, but because, according to one source, she was scared.
And Rachel Zegler, to this very waking hour, seems totally blissful, completely ignorant, and has zero self-awareness of the destruction that she has wrought.
Gal, for her part, hasn't publicly addressed any of it, but the silence might be louder than words. The message? She's not here to fight online. She's here to protect her name. And with Snow White's corpse still warm, the fallout between these two stars may be just beginning. From the outside, Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler were supposed to be the perfect pairing, Disney's new power duo. One, a global icon known for her strength and poise. The other, a rising star, handpicked to lead a new generation of Disney princesses. But insiders now say that image was pure illusion. Behind the scenes, the tension between them had been simmering for months, and now, after legal teams allegedly entered the picture, it's finally exploding into full view. According to sources close to the production, the issues between Gal and Rachel started early, not with shouting matches or dramatic walk-offs, but with something much colder: mutual resentment. Creative differences over tone, direction, and character interpretation allegedly created a rift from the start. Rachel reportedly wanted a bold reimagining, a Snow White who rejected the prince, challenged the fairy tale, and leaned heavily into political symbolism.
I am not asking. I am demanding.
Yes, Your Highness.
Gal, insiders claim, wanted something else entirely, a modern story that still honored the original, with nuance, subtlety, and just a touch of the classic Disney magic. That tension only deepened during press events. Eagle-eyed fans began noticing the awkward energy between the two during interviews, stiff posture, forced smiles, and body language that screamed discomfort. The infamous Oscars presentation was the clearest example. Standing side by side, they barely looked at each other. Viewers noticed, so did the tabloids. But what most people didn't realize was just how fractured things had already become from behind the curtain. Then came the politics. While Rachel Zegler was openly outspoken on social media, posting support for politically charged causes, signing high-profile letters, and clashing with fans, Gal Gadot, a former IDF soldier and staunch supporter of Israel, represented a completely different worldview. That political divide reportedly spilled onto the set. Conversations became tense. Passive-aggressive comments turned personal. And by the time the Snow White press tour was in full swing, neither actress wanted to be associated with the other. Insiders claim that Disney tried to keep the peace, splitting their press schedules, separating appearances, but it didn't work.
You know what I can't wait to quit? Social media. I'm like so ready to just throw my phone away. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I know it's gonna happen.
The resentment festered, and when Snow White flopped, insiders say both actresses privately blamed each other. Rachel allegedly viewed Gal as the out-of-touch legacy star, dragging the film down with stiffness and disconnect. Gal, according to speculative reports, believed Rachel's political outbursts and press tour missteps tanked the entire marketing strategy. Now with Gal's legal team reportedly stepping in and Rachel canceling her media tour, the truce is officially over. And Disney, caught in the middle, is watching two of its stars implode, one silently, one spectacularly. When Disney greenlit its live-action Snow White, executives saw a sure thing. A legacy title, a beloved fairy tale, two headline-grabbing leads. It was supposed to be bulletproof. But now, with the film out of theaters and its stars allegedly entangled in legal threats and off-camera feuds, insiders say Disney is scrambling behind the scenes, trying to contain a mess that no one in the Burbank boardrooms was ready for. Sources close to the studio suggest that Disney executives initially brushed off concerns about Gal Gadot and Zegler's on-set friction. Creative tension was how one insider reportedly put it. Nothing out of the ordinary. But as the film's promotional campaign unraveled, the truth became harder to ignore. Interviews with forced chemistry, body language that screamed conflict. Then came the box office numbers, and suddenly, what once felt manageable turned into a full-blown public relations nightmare. According to industry whispers, Disney's internal panic reached a boiling point after the press tour fell apart. Rachel's interviews had already sparked outrage, criticizing the original Snow White, dismissing the prince, framing the fairy tale as outdated and irrelevant. Gal, on the other hand, remained tight-lipped, refusing to address the controversy, even as social media turned the entire production into a meme minefield. Behind closed doors, the studio reportedly held multiple crisis meetings to strategize damage control. One plan, insiders claim, involved filming a behind-the-scenes commentary track for the Disney Plus release, featuring Rachel, Gal, and co-star Andrew Burnap, laughing about production stories, trying to rewrite the tone with charm and nostalgia. But that plan was abruptly killed.
Because they replaced the dwarves with CGI abominations. They are pretending like Rachel Zegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film. Somehow Gal Gadot, who's easily one of the top 10 most attractive women on the planet, is some evil, ugly stepmother, which she is not. I don't know how she burst out laughing.
Yeah, none of it works.
Why? According to leaks, Gal refused to participate once legal tensions with Rachel escalated, and Rachel, after allegedly receiving multiple legal warnings, pulled out entirely. The commentary track was canceled, promo plans were shelved, and Disney quietly removed any hint of cast chemistry from their streaming rollout. Even worse, insiders say there's a growing sense of regret among top executives, not just about the film's direction, but about the entire approach. They underestimated the risks of pairing two stars with conflicting political identities and wildly different media strategies. And now, they're watching as the entire project spirals, not because of the film itself, but because the people behind it are at war. Internally, Disney is reportedly doing everything it can to prevent more leaks, but the damage may already be done. With Gal and Rachel both allegedly furious, and legal teams fully activated, this feud isn't just a bad look. It's an ongoing liability, and for a studio already struggling to protect its brand, insiders say this is the exact kind of chaos they were desperate to avoid. Insiders say Gal Gadot didn't have to go on the record. She didn't need to clap back on Instagram or grant an exclusive tell-all. Instead, she allegedly let her legal team do the talking, and by the third formal warning, Rachel Zegler reportedly folded. According to multiple speculative sources, Gal's legal maneuvering was swift, serious, and far more effective than anyone in Rachel's camp expected. It all started, insiders claim, when word began to circulate that Rachel was planning a series of interviews to finally tell her side. She had reportedly lined up appearances on major talk shows, sympathetic podcasts, and even a potential digital feature titled Snow White, What You Didn't See. The goal? to shift public perception and, some say, to deflect blame for the film's failure. But what rattled Gal's team wasn't just the interviews, it was the alleged focus. Insiders suggest Rachel planned to paint Gal as the true behind-the-scenes problem. That's when Gal struck. Her legal team allegedly issued 3 separate cease-and-desist-style warnings to Rachel's representatives, each one escalating in tone. The message was unambiguous. If Rachel made defamatory statements about Gal, especially claims that could damage her career or contradict her contractual obligations, she would be sued. By the 3rd notice, sources say Rachel was visibly shaken, and the proof came quickly. One by one, her planned appearances disappeared from the calendar.
It's Hollywood, baby.
A scheduled sit-down on The Drew Barrymore Show pulled, a buzzy podcast episode on a platform known for supporting empowered Gen Z voices quietly shelved. Even a streaming special that had reportedly begun pre-production, gone. Insiders claim Gal's team wasn't bluffing. The legal filings, while kept confidential, were allegedly clear enough to shut down Rachel's media push entirely. One insider summed it up like this: Gal didn't want revenge, she wanted silence, and she got it. Publicly, neither side has commented, but those close to the situation suggest that Gal's approach sent a clear warning, not just to Rachel, but to anyone else who might be tempted to scapegoat her for Snow White's failure. She may be composed, but she's not passive. And when it comes to protecting her reputation, Gal Gadot is reportedly playing hardball. Meanwhile, Rachel has gone quiet, and insiders believe that silence says more than any interview ever could. According to sources familiar with the situation, Zegler had been preparing a major media push, a calculated attempt to flip the entire Snow White narrative in her favor. After months of backlash, flopped interviews, and being painted as the face of Disney's most public failure, she was reportedly ready to reframe the story and shift the blame squarely onto someone else. That someone? Gal Gadot. Insiders claim Rachel's team had been working quietly behind the scenes to secure friendly media outlets where she could control the message. The plan, according to those familiar with it, was to come forward with stories about the toxic atmosphere on set, creative battles behind closed doors, and a co-star, Gal, who allegedly made the process emotionally draining. The message was subtle, but devastating. Rachel didn't sink the movie. Gal did. There were whispers that Rachel would accuse Gal of being impossible to collaborate with, allegedly resistant to the film's modern messaging, and even politically at odds with the cast. The most explosive detail? Rachel reportedly planned to reveal that Gal had objected to certain rewrites, moments that positioned Snow White as a more radical, independent heroine, and that this created constant creative tension. But before the plan could go live, Gal's legal team intervened, and Rachel, insiders say, aborted the mission. Within days of receiving a 3rd legal notice, every scheduled appearance tied to the tell-all strategy disappeared. The podcast interviews, magazine features, and press drops that were supposed to start reshaping Rachel's public image were canceled across the board. To those watching closely, the shift was unmistakable. Rachel, once defiant and unfiltered, suddenly went dark.
Just let the bloat be bloat. Let her bloat.
Her usual posts stopped, her publicist's messaging stalled, and according to sources close to the matter, her team panicked. They'd miscalculated Gal's response, and now they had no backup plan. What was meant to be a redemption arc became a retreat, and the silence that followed didn't spark sympathy, it deepened suspicion. Online, fans speculated that if Rachel truly had nothing to hide, she wouldn't have backed off so suddenly. Some even suggested that Gal's aggressive legal defense had exposed Rachel's plan as a bluff from the start. Whether that's true or not remains unclear. But one thing is certain. Whatever story Rachel was about to tell, she's not telling it anymore. And Gal, through sheer legal pressure, may have done what no studio executive could, forced Zegler to go quiet. In Hollywood, image is everything. And according to insiders, Rachel Zegler's image just took another blow, one far more damaging than a box office flop or a bad review. After reportedly pulling back from a media campaign meant to reframe the Snow White disaster and going silent in the face of legal threats, the buzz inside the industry has turned brutal. Rachel Zegler, once hailed as Disney's rising star, is now being viewed as a liability. Sources close to major agencies and studios suggest that Rachel's reputation took a massive hit not because of the failed film, but because of what came next. The almost expose, the rumored blame shifting, the sudden retreat after being legally checked by Gal Gadot's team. It wasn't just a bad look. It looked unprofessional, immature, reckless. Executives who once considered Rachel for franchise leads and prestige dramas are now reportedly far more hesitant. One insider said it plainly: "You can survive a flop. What you can't survive is making enemies out of everyone on your way down." Because while Rachel's defenders argue she's been unfairly targeted by online trolls and media outlets, others in the industry see something different. A rising actress who lost control of the narrative and burned bridges while trying to save herself. And fair or not, perception becomes reality fast in Hollywood. Her silence, while legally smart, hasn't helped her case. To many observers, it feels like confirmation that whatever she was planning to say about Gal, about the set, about the collapse of Snow White, she couldn't say it because it wouldn't hold up. And Gal, her handling of the situation has reportedly won quiet praise from many in the industry. Calm, private, measured, and ruthlessly effective. Insiders suggest that Gal's response sent a clear message to anyone considering working with her. She doesn't play games, and she knows how to protect her brand. Meanwhile, Rachel's future now hangs in limbo. Not officially blacklisted, not outright canceled, but, as one producer put it, radioactive. The kind of name that makes people nervous when it appears on a casting list. The kind of name that triggers whispers and cautious emails behind closed doors. One thing is certain: whatever project Rachel takes on next, it won't be easy. She won't be walking into red carpets or press junkets as the fresh-faced ingenue anymore. She'll be walking in with baggage, and the industry is watching to see if she can carry it. While Rachel Zegler's media strategy collapsed under the weight of legal threats and bad optics, Gal Gadot has taken a different route entirely. One that insiders say is quietly restoring her reputation and reinforcing her status as one of Hollywood's most composed players. No dramatic interviews, no cryptic tweets, just silence, professionalism, and a legal team that means business. According to sources close to Gal, she never wanted this feud to go public. In fact, insiders suggest that she did everything in her power to keep things internal, until Rachel allegedly began preparing to speak out and assign blame. That, they say, is when Gal's patience ran out, and her lawyers stepped in. But even then, she let her team act while she kept her public image clean.
Destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie. So bad is it, so toxic is this poison apple, that the producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough if you are the biggest media company on earth to have that company turn against you.
Industry insiders are reportedly impressed. In an environment where so many stars try to win the narrative online, Gal's refusal to engage directly has been interpreted by some as a power move. She didn't need to dunk on Rachel in public. She just made it clear behind the scenes that crossing the line would have consequences. And those consequences worked. In the meantime, Gal has continued to appear at high-profile events, walk carpets, and quietly line up future roles. One insider described her current strategy as deliberate image stabilization, meaning she's focusing on reassociating herself with strength, elegance, and professionalism, all while letting Rachel's meltdown unfold without commentary. And it seems to be working. While Rachel's name continues to trend for all the wrong reasons, Gal's public mentions are slowly returning to normal. There's a growing sense, especially among casting agents and studio execs, that she handled the Snow White disaster the way a veteran should. Not with ego, not with drama, but with decisive action and restraint. Even when she addressed the film's collapse in a recent interview, never naming Rachel directly, Gal allegedly chose her words carefully, referring vaguely to co-stars who made the process difficult and distractions that took attention away from the work. It wasn't an attack. It was a warning. And insiders say it landed. Her message was clear. I'm not here to destroy careers, but I will protect my own. And that kind of quiet strength, that's exactly the energy Hollywood respects. Because in an industry that feeds off chaos, the stars who can rise above it without feeding it tend to be the ones who survive the longest. Amid the swirling legal drama and press tour implosion, one quiet move by Disney confirmed what many insiders were already whispering. They're done pretending everything's fine. According to sources close to the studio, Disney has officially canceled the planned behind-the-scenes commentary track for Snow White's Disney Plus release, one that was set to feature Gal Gadot, Rachel Zegler, and Andrew Burnap offering insight into the production. And insiders say it wasn't just about timing, it was about damage control. The commentary, which had been promoted internally as a tone-resetting feature, was supposed to show the cast laughing together, sharing stories, and putting a human face on what had become a meme-ridden disaster. But behind the scenes, the tension between Gal and Rachel had reportedly reached a breaking point. After Gal's legal team issued repeated warnings and Rachel allegedly canceled all media appearances, Disney quietly shelved the project. According to internal chatter, the decision wasn't just based on on fear of further embarrassment. It was also logistical. Neither actress was willing to sit down in a studio and speak about the film in the same room, or even remotely together. There was no trust, no script, no path forward. Instead, Disney reportedly opted for the safest route: erase the commentary entirely. For those in the know, the move was telling. Commentary tracks are standard fare for Disney Plus releases. They fill runtime, offer perceived value, and help rehabilitate projects that may have underperformed in theaters. Pulling it meant one thing: the situation behind the curtain was too messy to package, and the erasure didn't stop there. Insiders say that other promotional features, short interviews, blooper reels, and cast spotlights, were either drastically shortened or cut altogether. At least 2 planned digital exclusives highlighting the women of Snow White and on-set chemistry were shelved after the legal conflict began. Officially, Disney hasn't commented, but internally, sources claim the decision was framed as a necessity, not a choice. One executive allegedly said, "The less we show of the cast together, the better." Another added, "We can't fix this with fluff. Best to bury it." It's a rare move for a studio known for overproducing promotional material.
This woman shown here is not the actual woman playing Snow White, but the woman playing Snow White is named Rachel Zegler, and she and Gal Gadot, who plays the evil queen.
But in this case, the silence speaks volumes. Disney may be moving forward with its next billion-dollar gambles, but when it comes to Snow White, the strategy is clear: scrub, suppress, and survive. Hollywood has always been filled with off-screen drama, ego clashes, creative disagreements, icy press tours, but insiders say the feud between Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler isn't just another case of co-star tension. It's something far deeper, far messier, and potentially far more dangerous, not just for the 2 actresses involved, but for Disney's entire live-action strategy. Here's why. Unlike other on-set spats that get swept under the rug with a joint interview or a carefully worded press release, this one has spilled into the legal realm. And once lawyers are involved, everything changes. According to speculative reports, Gal Gadot's legal team didn't just issue standard warnings, they effectively cut off Rachel's media oxygen, shutting down her ability to go public, flipping the power dynamic, and putting Disney in an incredibly uncomfortable position. For a company built on the illusion of harmony, that's a branding crisis. Because now, instead of the smiling, empowered sisterhood Disney sold to audiences, they've got 2 leads who won't speak to each other, a film branded as a cultural punchline, and a PR landscape still on fire months after the final credits rolled. But the real threat isn't just legal, it's cultural. This feud has come to represent something bigger: a generational, ideological, and professional clash. On one side, Gal Gadot, poised, traditional, image-conscious. On the other, Rachel Zegler, unfiltered, political, and polarizing. Their split echoes the larger division happening in Hollywood, between stars who play the old game and stars trying to rewrite the rules. And Disney? They're stuck in the middle, trying to please everyone and satisfying no one. Insiders claim the tension between Gal and Rachel has become a cautionary tale in boardrooms across the industry. Executives are asking, what happens when you cast leads with fundamentally different worldviews? What happens when you push a politically loaded message without making sure the cast is aligned? What happens when your off-screen story drowns the movie itself? The answer, as Disney is now seeing firsthand, is simple. You lose control of the narrative, the brand, and the audience's trust. That's why this feud feels different. It's not just about 2 stars who don't get along. It's about a project so mismanaged, so broken, that it turned into a symbol of everything audiences are tired of: Hollywood politics, failed reboots, and celebrity drama that hijacks the story. And if Disney can't regain control of that story, this won't just be a failed movie, it'll be the moment their entire live-action strategy finally collapsed under its own weight. There are flops, there are feuds, and then there are career-defining implosions that leave everyone scorched. Insiders say the fallout from Snow White has gone so far off the rails, it may have already reshaped the futures of both its stars. Not just professionally, but personally, publicly, and culturally. Because at this point, the question isn't who won the war between Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. It's whether either of them can walk away without permanent damage. Rachel, once positioned as Disney's next face of the future, now finds herself in a reputational freefall. The viral clips, the political controversy, the legal silencing. Her bold voice, once praised as fearless, is now being called reckless, even dangerous by some insiders. And while she may still have her defenders, the cold reality is this: the industry doesn't reward instability, especially not when it costs hundreds of millions. Gal, meanwhile, has handled the storm with discipline, strategic silence, legal force, a public image that remains mostly intact. But insiders warn, even she isn't walking away unscathed. She was supposed to be the anchor, the box office insurance. Instead, she's now forever linked to a project that became a cultural punchline and a co-star war that overshadowed everything else. And Disney? They gambled big on a princess with no prince, no nostalgia, and no united front. They rolled the dice on politics, messaging, and memes. And now they're left with scorched earth and a streaming platform bracing for backlash. The real tragedy? Snow White was supposed to be a celebration, a reinvention, a legacy-defining moment for a new generation. But instead, it became a case study in how fast things can unravel when the story behind the story becomes the main event. So what do you think? Can Gal Gadot survive this and reclaim her place as Hollywood royalty, or has the damage already been done? And is Rachel Zegler's silence the end of her rise, or the calm before a very different kind of comeback? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you're following this wild fallout as closely as we are, and don't forget to subscribe, because when you're ready to hear what Hollywood really doesn't want you to know, the next video is already waiting for you.